Taiwan. I'm Ethan Liu with 2 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Indonesian crew on Taiwan's distant water fishing fleet launched a Wi-Fi for Fishers campaign earlier this year, but it's facing some barriers as not all boat owners are on board. Yu Jinghua has the second part of our special report.
A newly remodeled long-line fishing boat, getting ready for a long trip to catch tuna. While most of the crew are seasoned fishers, this next journey will be unique both for them and the vessel's owner. This boat is fitted with Wi-Fi, and its interior has been made compliant with C1AA standards. That's a UN standard aimed at improving working conditions at sea. The boat's owner, Tommy Zhen, although uncertain about this change, is willing to give it a try.
从我经营者的角度来讲啊，我觉得它的经营效率没有以前的船好，但是我也期待说，希望是不是会对我的船员有一些改变，让更多的人喜欢这个工作，让我们的人才不要一直这样断下去。
Just as when freezers became standard on fishing boats, Zhen believes having Wi-Fi out at sea is just another transition for the industry. And as communications improve, he can better monitor how his boat is getting on, receiving reports from afar on an hourly basis.
再过几年，也许我们可以及时监视到船上的各种行动。所以我们一直在期待科技越来越进步，可以让这些管理上面能够更落实，而不是闭着眼睛在管理。
The government has offered subsidies to install Wi-Fi receivers on 60 vessels. That covers almost 3/4 of the cost. But the subsidy for operating internet access at sea is much less than boat owners were hoping for. Even the cheapest plan costs $700 a month. Of the some 1,100 boats in Taiwan's distant water fishing fleet, under 10% have Wi-Fi installed, and owners have concerns beyond the internet service fees. Two members of the Taiwan Tuna Longline Association agreed to speak about their worries anonymously.
会造成阮本身船长对船员的管理这产生足大的问题啦。本来休困10点钟的时间，伊要休困的期间，伊无啊，伊总一支手机啊看影片，跑啊去玩游戏。
一旦你说因为小孩子怎么样，或者说太太怎么样，你说你要回来。那我们这一趟几千万的经费，我们该怎么办？
But fishers who are pushing for their right to stay connected reject these concerns.
Setelah dengar berita buruk, tiba-tiba mereka minta pulang, sedangkan kita masih ada time operasi. Saya bilang itu nggak bakalan terjadi, karena kita sudah ada perjanjian kerja. Kalaupun pulang kan biaya sendiri, duit dari mana kita?
Owners also say depressed prices for seafood pose a problem, as operating costs for fuel and labor grow, and the international quota for catches shrinks. They worry that if these rising costs are reflected in the market price of their catch, they'll become less competitive than vessels that don't abide by human rights regulations. But activists say consumers are changing too, particularly in the U.S., one of the primary markets for Taiwan's seafood exports.
Because of sustainability and labor rights and human rights, consumers don't want their products to come from spaces that they don't know how things were made or catched, And so we do believe that it also benefits Taiwan to be a leader in how this industry should behave.
As activists push for change, they also don't want distant water fishing to become a sunset industry. And they believe the burden of finding solutions should not fall on boat owners alone, but should be shared by all parties across the supply chain. And so a positive change has taken place in Taiwan because of policies implemented on the other side of the sea. Kamashi, Kleinwan, Edmund, Bichizhang, and Yu Jinghua for TaiwanPlus.
That was the second part of our special report on Indonesian fishers' campaign for Wi-Fi access while out at sea. You can find part 1 on our website, TaiwanPlus.com. Over the past 5 years, Taiwan has seeded its coastal waters with millions of fish, but new research shows that more careful planning is needed to ensure the long-term viability of the country's marine resources. Brink Thomas has the story.
If you were to cast a line off the coast of Taiwan, there's a good chance you'd catch a fish seeded by the country's fisheries agency. It's worked with the private sector for 5 years to release about 200 million into the wild, in places they'll have the most impact.
现在放流的地点其实是有点像过去历史栖地，那这地点现在数量比较少，那我们放流出去就看到很明显的结果。
New research shows that up to half of certain species of fish pulled from waters around Taiwan are genetically related to fish seeded by the agency. Although the program has been a success, it's one that could cause problems down the line. Researchers say the agency also needs to consider how seeding might impact genetic diversity. There's a possibility the fish they release mate with their own genetic relatives, which could damage their offspring. This means more genetic testing is needed so measures can be put in place to control who can seed where.
透过检测鱼苗的遗传多样性，也能够确保说这些鱼苗它是不会造成野外的基因的窄化。
And inbreeding isn't the only challenge Taiwan's fisheries are facing. It also needs to be careful when introducing fish into ecosystems without the capacity to handle them.
选择正确的物种，而不是说这些物种我们放到海里面去影响到海洋的生态，跟影响到整个物种的均衡。
That's why the Fisheries Agency is taking measures to ensure sustainable practices. Starting next year, it'll introduce licensing laws and fines for private companies that don't follow seeding regulation. It's all part of an effort to make sure that, moving forward, there'll be plenty more fish in the sea. Ethan Chen and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
In just 2 years, Taiwan is expected to become a super-aged society where 1 in 5 people will be over the age of 65. As demand for elderly care in Taiwan grows, local NGOs are working to help families avoid caregiving burnout. Joyce Zhen has this story.
陈丽丽，安妮什么人
？97-year-old Chen Fengjiao is looked after by her 6 children, all of whom are over the age of 60 and have chronic illnesses themselves, a reality of Taiwan's rapidly aging society. The 10 siblings have been rotating weekends to stay with their mother, while one sister, Chen Lihui, looks after her during the week, a job that's been harder since her mother had a fall.
晚上我也没办法休息呀，晚上真的是没有办法，随时都要那个提起精神来那个。
Caring for Taiwan seniors is a growing responsibility for a population that is both aging and shrinking. In a decade, the number of people aged over 65 has doubled, while the number of births has dropped almost 44%. Often the burden of caregiving falls onto individual families, something that local NGOs say causes quite a few problems within the home.
或多或少都会遇到这种分工上面的冲突，还有就是对医疗决策的意见不一致，或者他在经费支出面上面。 大家的负担能力不一致。
The Taiwan Association of Family Caregivers runs a free consulting hotline and offers services like training seminars and psychological consultations for families. They say a third party can often help relieve tensions, something that has already driven some households to court over caregiving disputes.
在诉讼当中，它的时间是蛮长的，动辄要8个月、10个月，甚至更久的时间。 那第二个是所判决的金额常常不符合民众的期待。
Some families strapped for support, like the Chens, end up relying on migrant labor to ease the load. Taiwan's been working to make it easier to hire caregivers from abroad, but it's also faced repeated calls for better treatment of its foreign labor force. Taiwan's aging society affects many aspects of life in the country. And as the number of seniors needing care here continues to grow, NGOs offering essential resources to families will have their hands full for years to come. Klein Wang and Joyce Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching today's What's Up Taiwan. Finally, check out these animals in the snow at Ranua Wildlife Park in Finland. I'm Ethan. Take care, and I'll see you next time.